Today we're going to be talking about Ted Lasso Season 4, which has just dropped. I'm a massive fan of the series. I've seen the first 3 seasons probably, I don't know how many times, but I loved Season 1, Season 2. I think they lost their way a little bit in Season 3, but when it ended, everything was sort of wrapped up nicely, and to be honest, I thought that was probably the end of the series. We're going to be looking at Ted Lasso Season 4. We're going to be talking about the story, the returning characters, but I'm going to be trying not to give away any major spoilers or any major cameo appearances or anything that would ruin it for you as a viewer. So I'm a little bit biased. I do love the series, but I was a little bit surprised. They went ahead with it. I wasn't completely convinced it was needed, and I was a little bit worried that they'd made this for cynical reasons. Thankfully, after watching the series, I can say that those fears were put to bed. The season opens with Ted back in the US. He's working as assistant manager in his local supermarket. Now, you can see by the characters on the checkouts and his boss and the people that come into the shop that he's still very respected. He's very trusted. He bumps into one of his old American football players with his family. And again, he was described as one of the most influential role models in his career. So everything at the start of that shows sort of how respected Ted is, and you know, really he's working that job, he's living that life just to be with his son, to be with his family really. And we get introduced to Ted's mum, which is quite interesting as well. So anyway, it's not long before Rebecca and the others pay him a visit to essentially offer him a role as head coach of Richmond women's team. And you know, he's quite committed to turning that down, staying there. He wants to be with his family, and already in the first episode it is heartwarming. It is a nice watch. It does make you feel good. It's an emotional program, you know, it's not just a football program, and we see bits of this straight away, and there's a little bit of torment with Ted thinking, I really wouldn't mind doing that. You see him looking through some of his Richmond memorabilia. And season 1 ends essentially with Ted messaging his ex-wife saying, how do you fancy moving to London? And he gets a reply that says, the change of scenery would be nice. And he goes, how do you think the boy will feel about this? And it's like, well, this is me. And he's like, all right, but mum says yes too. And that sort of sets up the season quite nicely. Instead of trying to recreate the Richmond underdog story, they've been quite clever, I think, going in a different direction.